Starting any venture is not for the faint of heart. Yes, it's exhilarating and can be rewarding on many levels, but it's a long-distance run where scraping and scratching and stressing are a part of it. But most entrepreneurs still very much believe the effort in launching a venture is worth the sacrifice. Our topic today is the top challenges every startup business faces. I'll be interviewing Mosongo Osong, a serial entrepreneur in both the secular and the Catholic world, on this episode of The Catholic Entrepreneur. Welcome to the Catholic Entrepreneur Podcast. Our sponsor today is Ave Maria University. Discover its free online short courses. The Pursuit of Wisdom courses are taught by some of the best Catholic minds in the country. You were made to pursue wisdom. Learn more at thepursuitofwisdom.org from Ave Maria University. My guest today is Mosongo Osong, the founder and CEO of Catholic Brain, a platform focused on the faith formation of children. Catholic Brain has served more than 100,000 students, parents, and teachers across 600 parishes in 19 dioceses across the country. Right out of college, Mosongo launched a medical billing and software company, and he sold it in 2016 to follow his calling to start a Catholic business. Originally from Cameroon, Mosongo now resides in Texas. Mosongo, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, Matt. Really appreciate being here with you today.
Mosongo, I've seen your work for a number of years from afar. I've been following Catholic Brain, very great invention and apostolate that you came out with. I saw your interview with Chris Stefanik a few years ago and was very intrigued. So good for you. Really, my first question is, you've done multiple startups. What was it about entrepreneurship? Because I know you started in your teenage years. What was it about entrepreneurship that attracted you?
For me, it was the power to solve problems, right? If you look at great entrepreneurs out there in the world, they're in the business of solving problems. So for me as a teenager, I was always passionate about helping people solve their financial problems, their needs. And so the only way I could help people out is to really become an entrepreneur, which gives me the means to allows me to help people financially. So that was the kind of the initial inspiration. And I come from my mom's side. There was a lot of family members that are struggling. So when I moved to the United States, I studied accounting in college. I thought I was going to be an accountant, but when I looked at the salary that they're going to pay me after college, it was around $50,000, $60,000 a year. Mm-hmm. I was married then with, I think, 1 or 2 kids back then.
Okay.
But that would not provide for me and for the family members that I wanted to support. There was about 20 of them. So I said, how do I solve this problem? How do I help these people? So, a long story short, I launched my first company right after college. I refused going out to work. I had an offer to work for a public accounting firm. Right. I said no to that. That's not going to help. I need to help these people. I need to start a business. I need to become an entrepreneur so I can help people out.
So you're from Cameroon?
Correct.
And when did you move to the United States? At which age? I'd like to walk through the chronology so my listeners can know your story.
So I moved to the United States at the age of 23.
Okay.
And then I went to college. I had to start all over. So I went to college.
Wow.
At University of Dallas. I studied accounting there for 3.5 years.
So what was your secular business that you started?
It was in the medical field. I was doing providing medical billing and accounting services to healthcare professionals like home health agencies, medical doctors, nursing homes, and we grew that business within 6 months. We're dealing with over 120 clients.
Okay, so how does one at 23 or 27, maybe when you finished college, you're married, you have a child, how does one start their own business in the United States when you're not someone from the country originally?
Yeah, it was tough in the beginning, but I think with I have the courage. I'm a risk taker. I don't mind taking risk. And I'm not afraid to go out and try something. So it's challenging in the beginning because then people have to, you kind of trust that you can provide a service. You have an accent that sometimes might be challenging, but it's about really, are you able to provide a service? Are you professional enough? Do you have the skill sets? And then over time, the business picks up from there.
So your and my topic is the most common challenges of startups. And I'm sure you face them all. In fact, you've had success. You were able to sell that medical records and accounting company. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But I'm sure you experienced many, many bumps along the way. A, is that true? And B, was it worth it considering all the bumps and bruises you took?
Oh, yeah, it was challenging. And I have to thank my wife for bearing with me, allowing me to take that risk. And we went for months, like 4 months, without able to pay our bills. But after you have to keep hustling, you have to be patient, you have to be persistent, and you have to go out there and you have to do everything yourself. You have to market the business, you have to be able to sell it. And I think that, once you do all those things with time, things will fall in place.
But it wasn't easy, was it?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, especially with it's easy to start a business when you don't have a family. You're not married. You don't have kids. Worst case, you can go sleep at your parents' garage or home, right? But it's challenging. You're looking at your wife every morning. You're looking at your kid, and how do I make this happen? You're going month after month without able to pay even your rent, right?
Mm.
And you try to. At one point, I had this letter from the accounting firm, this offer letter. I was almost about to call them, say, "Hey, can I take this job?
Yeah.
Is it too late?"
Yeah.
But I kept pushing. I kept pushing and asking the Lord. And what really kept me going when I get calls from the people back home, they need help, they need money. I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this, right? So.
Well, God bless you for that. Let me ask you a tricky question. This is a question I've wrestled with myself, and that is, would you recommend to your children the path that you took, knowing what you know now, both the blessing and the burden?
Yes and no. I mean, the yes part is, I mean, this is what I tell my kids, right? You have to find your passion, right? What are you passionate about, right? My second daughter says she wants to study business. She wants to be like me. And I asked her, I'm like, what does that really mean, right? What do you want to do? So, and she tells me, well, I like to do this, I like to do that. I'm like, well, that's not entrepreneurship. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to take those risks. You have to start the business. You have to all that hustle. And then she tells me, oh, Daddy, I don't like that part. I just like the part of the part that mommy does. Mom works for the business. She's a great business manager, not an entrepreneur. So I said, okay, so you want to be a business manager, not an entrepreneur. So I tell my kids, you find your passion. Find a problem that you want to solve in this world. How do you want to make the world a better place? My first daughter says she wants to be a doctor. I said, why? Why do you want to be a medical doctor? She wants to help. She hasn't given me the perfect answer yet, but she's like, I want to help people get better, right? Not quite specific, but that's what she wants to do. So I tell my kids to find their passion, right? And figure out a problem that you really want to solve in this life. What is your purpose in life? Once you're able to find that, and then you look at your God-given skills, your talents, you make that connection, and the Lord is going to lead you to the right path.
So, Mosongo, I want to do two things really to get us kicked off here. Take a moment and tell us the problem that you saw in the Catholic context, because in knowing your story, you wanted to sell your secular business because you went through a deeper conversion and you wanted to work for the church. So my first question is, tell us about the problem that you saw with your creation of Catholic Brain. And then I want to get into the primary challenges you think entrepreneurs, when they're launching a new company, face. But I'll ask that in a minute. But tell me your brief story of what problem you were trying to solve with Catholic Brain.
In 2012, I became very active at my parish and became a Eucharistic minister, a Knights of Columbus member. And then I started teaching second and third grade faith formation. And, the first thing I really observed was that my students were using textbooks. They did not like the textbooks. It was boring. It was old school. It was outdated. And like after teaching for like 15 minutes, the kids, some of them are like, Mr. Osong, is it almost over? They just want to go, right? These kids go to school. At school, they have all these, games, online resources, videos that they watch. And when they come to religion class, it's all the textbook. I really wanted to solve this problem. That's my entrepreneurial instinct kicks in. How do I solve this problem? How do I give these kids a resource that is more engaging, it's more fun? And that was the beginning of the whole discernment and of in regards how do I solve this problem? How do I create a better product, a better program that can help, engage the kids more? It took me 2 years to pray about it, to discern it, sold the secular business, and then we put together a product. It was first called Bibles, and it was a tablet, a hardware, which had Catholic content for the kids, videos, games, all in this Catholic tablet, right? That is fun and engaging. Kids, they love gadgets. So we said, okay, why don't we put great content that in a safe environment and give it to these children, and they will love learning and living their Catholic faith. So we launched that product in 2014. It was called Bibles on Catholic Tablet.
Bibles on, I remember that, in fact.
Right.
Okay, so at some point you changed the branding?
Yeah, we changed the branding to Cat. We launched Catholic Brain in the website catholicbrain.com 2017.
Got it. And so what has been the result?
So far, it was challenging. The hardware was challenging because we thought, everyone want to buy this hardware, but more and more people wanted the content of the hardware. Give us your content. We love your content. We don't need another hardware. So that's why we switched to focus on the online platform and the app. And today, we are proud to say that we have over 105,000 students, families, teachers, catechists using the platform across more than 600 parishes and schools.
Very good, very good. Okay, so let's get into specifically the topic at hand, the challenges, the primary challenges that you believe, in your experience, it might be a little different for others, but in your experience, every entrepreneur, every new startup faces.
So the first is raising capital, hiring the right talent.
Okay.
Remaining focused on your mission and vision, marketing strategy, budget, and execution, and then stress over payroll and finances.
Okay.
Overcoming fear of failure and when to let go of the business. The last one is how do you find that work-life balance?
Got it. Okay. We're going to have, as I do often, we're going to have a handout that everyone will be able to download and see. So you rattled off 7 categories there. Let's go through each of them individually. But you listed raising capital. Why is raising capital either first, or why is it there?
Because I think that's the top reason why most companies go out of business, right? There's no way it's going to be hard for you to launch the product or a service without having money. How do you hire staff? How do you market the product? How do you rent an office space? So without the capital, you might have some money in your savings account to fund the project, but it's going to run out, right, in no time. So capital, it's the number one for me. It's been the number one in all my business ventures. We always needed capital to launch the product. For example, for Catholic Brain, we needed about $75,000 to launch the initial product, and we didn't have that money in the account, so we had to go out and raise the capital to allow us to launch the product. And so if you don't have the capital, depending on the size of the project, some businesses might just need $5,000, some might need $100,000. So, but either way, you're going to need to raise that money to launch the product, the service, to market the product, to hire people, and to at least rent an office space.
So 2 questions. How do you know the amount? And when you're determining the amount, do you have experiences in both raising a little bit and then counting on sales, but also raising a much larger number to give yourself more lead time? I've done both in my past, where I've grown things organically by starting out with a modest amount, but then I learned at a later time that it really would have been better just to raise the larger amount all at once.
Yeah, I think for me, the mistakes I've done in the past is not raising the right amount. So and then underestimating how long it's going to take for this business to be profitable. So for example, when we launched Catholic Brain, we raised $50,000 and We raised another 25,000, but that could only launch the product, right? I thought we're gonna use that money, launch the product, do marketing. We have some money to, but it took about 3 years for us to get to the level that we are today. What I do now is sit down and analyze and be realistic enough to know that this is gonna take 3 years. I like to use 3 years. And I say, let's estimate how much it's going to cost for us to run the business, right? The operating cost, and then multiply that by 3 years. And then that's the amount that we're going to raise, right? And, obviously we're going to get sales as we move along, but I think doing your research and analyzing how much time it would take for this business to get to profitability or at least break even level. And then that's the amount that you go out and you raise.
I think I've heard this adage before, and tell me your comments on it. Whatever a person thinks they need, and how long it will take for them to begin, cash flowing, bringing in enough cash just to pay the monthly bills, it's going to take probably 2 to 3 times longer than you might think. Product development is going to take longer than you might think.
Absolutely. As entrepreneurs, we tend to be very, optimistic, right? Well, I'm going to get this done in 3 months. No, never. It's, 2 or 3 times more. And, so I've learned a lot, and now trying to be more realistic and not to put a lot of pressure on my team, to be realistic. That is going to take this much time for us to get to launch the product and to start making money. So we have to be very conservative and realistic at the same time.
If you had to do either Catholic Brain or your medical billing company or your next venture again, would you do the funding enough for the organic growth approach, because then you're not giving away as much of the company? Or would you raise a much larger amount, because then you really have breathing room for 2 or 3 years? If you were to launch a new idea, which approach do you think you would take?
I would take the approach of raising enough capital, because I want to grow fast. If you don't have enough, you're going to grow organically, right? Organically is going to take a shorter time. It just depends on what you want to accomplish, right? In 3 years or 5 years, what's the goal? For Catholic Brand, for example, we had set a goal to 2,000 schools and parishes, right? And we didn't estimate how long that would take. We didn't project the right amount, and then we're still trying to get to that number. Right. And it's taking more than 5 years. But if I would have raised enough capital, I think we should have gotten there in a shorter time. So I would prefer to raise enough. Obviously, we're going to give out more equity, but we're going to accomplish a lot more within a short period of time.
So give us a quick overview for those who are new to these questions. When you're raising capital, you raise it through either debt, taking on loans, or giving away equity. Is that pretty much the picture?
That's typically the traditional way. You do the debt. You can do a debt, maybe a friends or family. You get a short-term loan. You go to a traditional bank, or you go to a private lender. You borrow the money for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years term, and then, or you could give out equity. You could give a percentage of your company for a certain amount. That's just the typical way. But there are other ways out there to raise capital.
Got it. What would you counsel someone are the things that they should look out for when raising capital? Just off the top of your head, the mistakes that either you've made or things that you've seen or that you would recommend people watch out for or keep in mind as they're raising capital.
I would say start with friends and family. They won't put that pressure on you to kind of get their money back, right? Anything happens, mistake, they can give you some time to pay them back. When I launched, the medical business, we had an investor that we didn't know. I didn't have a good relationship with him. I didn't know him that much, but turns out that there was issue of like trying to get money quicker. There was a lot of pressure, right? And he wasn't patient enough to give us that time. So I would say, start with friends and family, and then get to your comfort zone before you start going into like the angel investors or even venture capital.
Very good. Okay, so the second item on the list, first was raising capital, is hiring the right talent. That came to your brain. Why was that such a key issue that it landed at the number 2 spot?
Right, because as an entrepreneur, I didn't have all the skills. Right, I don't have to do everything by myself. I wasn't. I'm not a software developer. I'm not the best marketing person or sales. So you need people that will complement your skills. So having the right set of people is crucial, right? So that they can complement you, help you to grow that business. So I look for things like experience, right? Work ethics, how long they've been working at there's different companies. You don't want someone that jumps around so quick. They work here 6 months, work here 3 months, and
Sure.
so I look at those things. I also look at their passion, right? What are they passionate about? They're passionate about this particular position, and are they passionate about the company, or really what is their mission or goal in life? So I look at all those different factors to make that decision.
Mosongo, I'm sure you faced this question yourself. Full-time persons versus maybe 1099 contractors. Was it your trajectory that you more often went in the direction of contractors first and then morphed them into, or is this similar to the first question I asked that, no, Matt, it's really much better to get well-financed, get your team in place? Like, how do you land on which way to go in terms of full-time versus contractors?
Yeah, it depends on the position for sales for sales reps. We tend to do contracts a lot, 1099s for those. If it's like a customer service person, we just hire them as a W2 employee. So it really depends. But what we do when we get people in, we start them as a contractor for a couple of months, 3 to 6 months, just see how the relationship goes. If it's a good fit, after 6 months period, then we can move them from that independent contractor to an employee. So it's really depending on the kind of the long term. If it's a long term relationship or is it a short term relationship?
Okay, so raising money, hiring the right talent. You gave some attributes as well that you thought were key for the right talent. Number 3, you said remain focused on your vision. So a question is, at what point in your company birthing are you honing in on a mission and vision, or do you start out with a vague idea and then it kind of tightens over time?
It has to be from the beginning, right? Because from the beginning, you're trying to solve a problem. What is the problem that you're trying to solve? What is the solution? And those two items become the why. Why does the company exist, right? And how are you trying to execute your why, and what are you trying to accomplish, which is your vision? So from the get-go, you already have that in mind. You just have to put it in writing. Because otherwise, you pretty much don't know what you're doing. What problem are you trying to solve? What is your mission? What is your purpose? What is the vision? So I would say we start right in the beginning to define the purpose, the mission, and the vision of the company.
Mosongo, has been your experience that you also, though, need to be flexible? You're very concrete in the beginning with what, the very sharp pencil in the beginning of what your mission and vision is. But I think I look back over my 30 plus years and I have an initial idea, and clearly we start adjusting it and honing it. What would be your counsel to anyone who's listening who has the initial vision but is likely going to face the need to adapt? What would be your counsel to people?
I would say don't change your why. I don't think you should change your why. There's a why, that's your purpose. Why are you doing this business? Why are you producing this product? What is the why? Now, the purpose should not change. The how can change, which is the mission. How you execute the purpose. Which products you want to bring. You can change the product, so you can tweak the how, but really not the why. The why has to stay in place.
If I were being honest, so I've ran Ascension for a couple of decades, and within that, we had hundreds of products. So each of those individual products could be seen as its own business. And here's the point I'm making, that I would be surprised if the better percentage of those individual projects did not end up changing in some manner. So as you say, the why remained the same on what we were creating, but really what it ended up being, I would be surprised if 60% of the time it didn't end up changing. Do you think that's common, or was I just bad in my estimations?
No, it's happened to me too. Because again, as entrepreneurs, we get distracted. We sometimes forget the why, and then we start creating products that are not, connecting the dots, which might be okay, but we really have to go back and look at why we exist, right, as a company. But it happens a lot, even in larger corporations, and some of them had problem in the future. Like Starbucks had a major issue a few years ago when they started doing all kinds of products, going this way, going that way, and they had to bring in a new CEO to come back and say, why does this company exist? What is the purpose? And let's start right from there.
Yeah, I think the majority of the reasons why maybe products would have changed on our end is you just get different market intelligence after you start living the experience as well. Has that been something that you've seen in your own product development life?
Yeah, absolutely. We get feedback from customers. Can you do this? Can you provide this? Can you do all that? And then you start changing accordingly. And also, revenue can be another, distraction. You want to produce this other product, because it's going to bring in a lot of revenue in. And then you try to switch gears just to bring it, to make sure the company is profitable as much as possible.
Sure. You focused about the need to stay on the why, and then sometimes you iterate and improve the product based on market conditions or what the market is telling you. But after you've solidified the why and the how do you communicate to your team effectively that mission? Question number one. Question number two, how do you keep them on mission?
It wasn't always like this, right? I've brought in consultants to help me with my vision, mission, and purpose. And what we've established today is we have weekly meetings. During the meetings, we start with prayer, and then we talk about the mission, right? So that reminds everyone, sets a reminder every week about what we're doing. And then once a year, we have a kind of a company meeting to overview the mission, the why, the how, and the what, and make sure that everything is aligning. And also, again, as entrepreneurs, we can be distracted because we have this gift that can be, it can be a gift and also a curse because you keep having all these ideas. I make sure that I tell my employees, my staff, I give them the power to stop me. If I'm producing any product, if I'm working on some other project that doesn't align with the mission, right? So there's that constant check, accountability, and reminder as a company culture that we've put together to just help us to make sure we're staying focused.
Yeah, no, that's a great practice, and those who are listening maybe put that practice into practice, namely giving your staff permission to push back on you because they may see things more clearly if you're the creative type. In fact, I wondered at times whether I was the wrong personality at a certain point to lead the company, because although maybe the gift was needed in the beginning to get it going, sometimes you need a different gift to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, the founder doesn't have to be the CEO or the COO because you don't have all, you might be the visionary, but you're probably not the one to execute that. So you need to bring in the right person in some cases to complement that. So, and we've seen a lot of founders that, even with Facebook, right? Mark Zuckerberg, they had to bring in a COO to help him. You have the vision, but we need someone that will help you to execute that. So absolutely, you don't have to be the one as a founder to do everything.
Okay, so the first is raising capital. The second is hiring talent. The third is developing a vision and staying on vision. Our next topic, number 4, is marketing, but it's a big topic, so I want to do it justice. So what we're going to do is we'll take a break. We'll hear from a word from our sponsor, and then we'll come back and we'll talk marketing with Mosongo Osong, the founder of Catholic Brain. We'll be back in just a moment.
You were made to pursue wisdom. Today, on this screen, you can now be guided by the top Catholic minds in the nation, our faculty at Ave Maria University. The wisdom that was once only for our students is now at your fingertips to help you live a more inspired, meaningful, and joyful life. It's your turn. Invite God to inspire and transform your life through the pursuit of wisdom.
Okay, welcome back. So, Mosongo, man, I think the biggest question that we all face after our idea is codified is the question of how do we sell the product. And I found in my own life, maybe it's your story, maybe it's not, that it's more fun to create the product than it is to go out and sell the product. That's where the real hard work begins. So my first question to you is, how do you, whether it's Catholic Brain or something else, how do you develop your initial marketing plan?
Yeah, I mean, they say you can have the best product in the world, no marketing plan, no marketing execution, it wouldn't go anywhere, right? So it starts with research. And sometimes we don't even know who the customer is. When we launched the Catholic tablet, the idea was that we thought we would be selling 100,000 units every year. Well, that didn't happen. Okay, this would go to schools, to parishes, to bookstores all over the country. And that's the customer. Catholic families will buy it, and we're going to sell a lot of it. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen. We didn't do the right market research. We didn't know who the customer was. It wasn't every Catholic. The customer was not a family or a school or a parish that owns another device. The customer was that homeschool parent who doesn't want to give their child a gadget, a secular tablet, doesn't give them any gadget at all, doesn't want them to go online. That was the customer. But it took us, about 3 years to understand that.
Okay. And
we were struggling to sell the product, right? So you have to start with market research. If we had done the research in the beginning, we should have, we spent a lot of money before we got to the point that we are today. So do market research, and it's even a lot easier today with AI, right? But you can use ChatGPT to do a lot of research. Mm-hmm. You can use Google, look at industry trends, look at just analyze your competition, look at your competitor and see what they're doing. And then that will help you a lot to design a marketing strategy that will help you. And where are your customers? Are they online? How can you reach them? Facebook, Instagram, Google, all of that, or do you meet them in person? So really identifying who the customer is, knowing who the customer is, and where's the best place to reach out to them.
It would be probably, again, your advice that whatever amount of time you think it will take and whatever dollar amount you think it will take, you should factor in that it's probably going to take considerably more than that.
More than that, right? Because it's going to take time for you to even know who that customer is, right? And know where's the best place to get to reach out to them.
So, Mosongo, one thing that I just had an experience with this about 2 weeks or so ago, and it was like, duh, I should have thought of this to begin with. And that was, I'm helping the promotion of a particular travel company in a pilgrimage. And we were doing broadcast marketing, shotgun marketing, to various media channels. And we weren't getting the response. And so then we decided to do direct sales. And my goodness, going right to where the audiences were, face to face, and pitching the product. And I think in this digital age that you and I live in, which is very powerful, we can forget that it's often the case that you just got to go out and beat the trees. And Ed, do you have any comments or thoughts or experience with this to either echo that as a truth or maybe push back on that statement?
Well, yes, you have to do both. You have to do both online and offline. And when we started attending conferences, right, events, before we were just doing online, just staying online, Facebook, SEO, all of that. And then we started exploring other traditional methods like even direct mail. We started sending out letters to dioceses. That was very, very effective. And we started attending all these other events, in-person events, doing presentation, going to homeschool conferences, talking to a homeschool mom face-to-face, showing them the product. And I have to tell you, a lot of the homeschool parents or families were not very active online, right? Because they don't use the social media as much. So we have to go to meet them at these conferences, at these different events, and in person still works. So we have to do both.
The numbers don't lie. You run the costs and the response rate on the digital solutions, you run the cost on the direct sales or whatever other strategies, and then And then you just look at the numbers and then you start doubling and tripling down on those things that are working. Yes?
Absolutely, yeah. But for us, it's 65% online, and then the 35%, the direct mail, face-to-face conferences.
Can you comment on the idea of the need to be emotionally detached from personal preferences and just go with whatever the data reveals? I mean, I've found in my own past that you might have certain pet projects or pet approaches, but they're not working. Talk about the need to really, as an entrepreneur or business owner, to be emotionally detached from pretty much everything outside of integrity and honesty, of course.
Well, yeah, you can't make decisions based on feelings, emotions, right? And you're going to make the wrong decision. So I've learned a lot over the years. It wasn't always the case where you make those decisions based on emotions, right? You can have a customer that's calling you, or they want this added features, they want this, they want that, and because of that emotion from that customer, you go and tell your tech team to add this feature. And you spend all that time and money, and that's not what that was just that one customer, right? Or maybe also you have this employee that's not delivering, it's not producing, they're late all the time, and then you're just, because you've either become friends with that staff member, or they have some issues at home, and you turn to keep them for a longer time, and then they still are not producing. So you have to look at the data, you have to look at the results, and you have to make those decisions, most of your decisions based on what the data is telling you.
I want to jump into our number 5, stress over payroll and fiscal management of the company. But you just kind of triggered something. I guess you have to learn as the leader of the company to make the difficult decisions. But also, have you experienced that there is a truth to the idea that it is lonely, at the top, because you are sitting in a different position? Comment on the difficulty of being in the role of leadership.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility, right? You're responsible for not just your family, you're responsible for, your staff members, you're responsible for your customers. For the staff, you're providing them an opportunity, their life. They rely on you to pay them so they can take care of their families. So it's huge. And you think about it every day, all night. And again, making the right decisions is key because it affects everyone, right? If those people don't get paid next month or within a week, they're going to leave. They're going to go. And they will not be able to pay their own bills. So it is a very big responsibility, and all the decisions that you make, you have to take it to prayer. You have to be very careful because it impacts the revenue.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that leads us into number 5. What have you learned over the years about your treasury management, your fiscal management of the company? What are some things that come to mind?
Yeah, I think payroll is always a stress, and making sure that you have enough money to pay the bills, to pay your staff. And what I've learned to do now is to make sure that I have 6 months runway, right, to run the business. In the past, I've had challenges where, it's month to month, right? We have to make sure we have enough revenue to pay the bills, right? But the best practice is to make sure you have minimum of 3 months runway, best 6 months. So that gives you that peace of mind, and that focus allows you to focus on generating the month-to-month revenue. But that 3 to 6 months runway is crucial, because if you can't pay the bills, your staff will leave and your company will go down.
So besides runway, what are some other pitfalls or either mistakes you've made, mistakes you've seen that you would counsel people to avoid with this whole question of financial management of the company?
I think timing. We've made mistakes where we don't have the budget. We don't have enough money to launch another project or a new line of product. And then we get all excited and we get into, okay, let's launch this now, right? And then we end up not selling enough of it. So I would say having, making sure we're disciplined enough, having that accountant or a CFO that makes sure that there's enough money in the bank for you before you launch a new product. And in most cases, underestimating, not keeping track of your expenses, can be an issue. Not knowing how much it really costs to run the business, right? And also not knowing how much it costs to acquire a customer. And in some cases, you might be losing money without knowing. And then pricing the product is key. We've made a lot of terrible mistakes on the pricing. We've never overpriced. We faced a lot of issues of underpricing.
Yeah.
How do you price the product the right way so that the price is not based on, it can be based on what the competitor is offering, but it also you have to know your expenses, how much you're running the business, and then you can determine how to price it in the right way.
For a new entrepreneur who's either never done this before or is entering in a new market, I don't think I turned to outside consultants in hindsight as much as I should have, and probably, took too much on my shoulders to figure it out ourselves, when now that I'm older and hopefully wiser, I would have turned to more outside counselors.
Yeah, absolutely. No one likes consultants in the beginning because it costs money.
Sure.
But there's a lot of value. If you have a good consultant, I would recommend, go for it, because they're going to help reduce a lot of mistakes that you're going to do in the future. And you have to have the right one. And there are different consultants with different skills. So you have to be specific on what you want. There's a general business consultant, which they can throw a lot of stuff at you. But I think for me, best way I've had the best consultants, it's specific to their let's say marketing consultant, sales consultant, or a financial consultant. And if I just go out and just bring in a business consultant who does all of that, I've never, seen the good results there. The best consultants I've had are the ones that are very specific to what I need, marketing, sales, or a financial consultant. But I would strongly recommend using a good consultant.
So you're speaking about the stress of managing finances, payroll in particular, because we feel the burden of our staff. What have you learned over the years in terms of the disposition that is needed to be an entrepreneur? It takes a certain disposition to be able to stand in the dark, stand in the unknown, stand on sand, if you will, where the grounds are not firm underneath you. What type of disposition do you think is needed for the entrepreneur? And specifically in the area of, financial risk and the financial burden that you're carrying all the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll give you a practical example, and I hope I'm answering your question right. When we launched the Catholic tablet, after 2 years, we knew it wasn't working. Right? We could not sell it enough. Not enough customers wanted it, and we had issues with hardware. We knew we had to change direction. We were losing money. We were going down. So I had to sit back and make the tough decision. Do I shut down the business? Do I raise more money? This product is not working, and I had some of my software developers had left the company. They said, Mosongo, this is not working. They're gone. And I had to sit back and make that tough decision. And and I couldn't pay my own bills. And do you shut down the business? And what do you do? So I had to stay strong. I had to be resilient, knowing that, again, trying to fix the issue at hand, which was, this is a product with great content, but the delivery is an issue. You have great content, but you want to deliver it on a device that people don't want. So I had to make that tough decision. We're putting away the device, and we're launching all of this on an online platform because that's what the customers have asked. That's what they want. But I was stubborn for 2 years and kept saying, no, you have to buy the device. And people kept asking, we love your content. Give us an app. I said, no. You get to have the device. So you have to be resilient enough. You have to listen to the customer. You have to listen to your staff, and you have, a team around you that can help you execute and make sure you're making the right decision.
So your sixth of seven words of counsel of the great challenges in starting is overcoming the fear of failure. Why was this on your list?
Yeah, because there's that fear that you're going to lose money. And what if you lose everything? You have a family that is relying on you. You have staff members, and you have all these people that are relying on you. And every day, while you're excited, you're passionate about the mission, but there's that constant fear, reminder that if this doesn't work, what's going to happen? So, overcoming that it's very important that first of all you stay prayerful,
Mm-hmm.
and you make sure you're doing the best you can. You're working hard, having the right people and staff to make sure that you have a good product, you're marketing it, you're selling it, but there's that constant fear, especially for a guy who's married and has 3 or 4 kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? That are relying on you. So it can be much easier for a teenager. Worst case, move back to your parents' home.
Yeah.
But for an adult, married adult with kids, there's that fear of failure. If you fail, a lot can go wrong.
So let's recap, because you wove in your recommendations on how to overcome that in the answer. So prayer, hard work,
Resilience. Don't give up. Stay focused. Don't be distracted, and listen to your customer. Right. Get enough feedback. I think if you have those in place, I'm sure you'll be more confident that you go out and succeed. So, very important.
So the seventh challenge that you say, again, all comes on the heels of the prior ones, and work-life balance. Why was this on your list? Did you experience, I was out of whack quite a bit during those multiple decades. What have you learned from that?
Yeah. As an entrepreneur, it's tough. Life becomes tough once you start, different when you start a new business. Exciting, but you're going to compromise on your family. Your family might suffer. Your wife and kids, they might not see you very often because you're working like 24/7, right? And if you're not careful, you start having health issues. So that work-life balance is very important, because the people that suffer most are your loved ones, right? For me, I was working, like waking up in the morning, 5 a.m., and I'm working. Even when I close work, I go to pick up my kids. You're constantly checking your phone. You drop them. You don't even know how you get home, right?
Yeah.
And then you're just constantly working and checking your emails, and you're still working at 10 p.m., right? So you have to set that work-life balance. And what I've done what I do today is that after 5, and I struggled a lot with this for the last 2 years, it's been much better. So after 5, everything shuts down. So I have 2 phones now. One is the work phone, one is the personal phone. No emails on that phone, because otherwise you keep checking the email. And when you check one email, if it's something about work, you just get on it, right? So I've removed work from my personal phone. And when I leave my office, I leave the work phone in the office. And
wow,
it would take time, but after like a couple of months, you get used to it. And that's how I've been able to, that way, if I go home, I'm spending that time with family, right? Which is important. Plus, you have to rest. You have to refresh. But
that's a great idea, and I'm sure this was your experience. Although I was present with my kids, let's say after 6 o'clock or so on those work nights, you're not fully mentally present. There's a lot of distraction, a lot of you're kind of faking it till you make it a little bit, and it sounds like you that resonates a little bit with you.
Right, absolutely. And we used to work from home, and I decided, you know what, no more home office. I don't have a home office.
Okay.
Because then I'll just go up the computer, even if there is no work to do, you're just like, oh, let me go do something. So really separating the two is key.
Yeah. Okay. Separate with the phone and with the office. I'm sure some will listen and say, "Oh, that's going to be difficult to do," but that might be what is needed. So, Mosongo, if you could just give us kind of a final word, a bit of advice to those who listen about they are going to face challenges in their startup, and what would you just say to them as to how they keep it all in perspective?
I would say go back to your why. Why are you doing this business? What is the purpose? What is your purpose? And that will help you stay focused, put everything into perspective. And if it's a great product, make sure your product is good. It's good quality. And if you have the right marketing strategy, the right marketing team, there is no doubt that you're going to succeed. It starts all from the beginning, your why. You have to know your why, and then your how, and then your what. If you have those in place, I have no doubt that you're going to succeed in your business.
Mosongo Osong of Catholic Brain and other ventures as well, thank you for spending time. It was a lot of really good, solid, practical counsel, and I wish you the best in all your endeavors.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. God bless you.
God bless you.